When a B-17 flew in for the reunion of the old 379th, it brought back a lot of memories.
See all the gun switches up there?
Old warriors reliving their pasts, all with stories to tell.
This one looks nice compared to yours.
Franz Stiegler and retired Air Force Colonel Charles Brown are best of friends today, but once they were deadly enemies. On December 20th, 1943, Stiegler was an ace German fighter pilot with 25 kills. Brown was just 21, a green second lieutenant commanding his first mission in a B-17.
You learn combat by doing combat. Anyone that is not frightened when they go into combat is not fully aware of what combat is all about.
Brown and his crew were returning from a bombing run over Bremen, Germany. Crippled by flak and riddled by machine gun bullets, with 3 men injured and another dead, the plane fell out of formation. It was alone and defenseless. Sam Blackford was the ball turret gunner on that mission. He's the first man to see Stiegler's plane approaching from behind.
My guns were frozen up, and I had my barrels pointed at him, and he knew they couldn't do anything because they weren't shooting. He kept closing. I couldn't shoot.
The plane only had one good engine left and could barely maneuver. As Stiegler told Brown so many years later, it was the most severely damaged B-17 he had ever seen still flying.
There was the top was missing above the letters. And then the wing he had, there was a big hole here. I saw only splinters of this plexiglass. The gun sight was sitting in the open. The tail gunner was slumped over the guns or whatever he was slumped over. I saw a lot of blood in there.
It was a feeling of absolute helplessness. And, you know, you were totally subject to his whim.
Do you remember Charlie's face?
Yeah, I remember this face.
What did you see in that face?
Horror.
But in that moment, just 5 days before Christmas, Franz Stiegler saw his enemies as fellow men. He never fired his weapons.
And the last thing I did, waved to us just like that. Peeled off to the right and went down.
What were you saying with the wave?
I say, I hope you make it home. That's what my wave was about.
After he landed, Franz Stiegler never told what happened. He was worried about being court-martialed. Charlie Brown and his crew did tell the story, but Army Air Force intelligence covered it up. In 1943, they didn't think the story of a chivalrous German pilot would help the war effort. Without official records, it took 46 years for Charles Brown and his crew to find Franz Stiegler. But even after all that time, it's never too late to acknowledge what he did for them.
We flew under different flags, wore different uniforms, but the code, if you will, was there.
What do you owe Franz Stiegler?
My life.
That's pretty simple.
Sure is.
30,000 Americans died in B-17s during World War II. From Charlie Brown's plane, at least 3 men survived, and they have 25 descendants.
Kimberly Ansberger, Michael Ansberger, Michelle Warner.
Franz Stiegler had never seen their pictures or heard their names.
Jessica Blackford, Zachary Blackford, Richard Papalo, Scott Pechard.
25 people who came into being and live today, all because Franz Stiegler did not pull the trigger.
Nicholas Blackford. Well, that's the other side of fate, which we have no control about.
Near Boston, Massachusetts, Wayne Freedman, CBS This Morning. near Boston, Massachusetts. Wayne Freedman, CBS This Morning.